Hey everybody, this is Dave Cooper, davecooper.live, and we are online with Dan Wu, Privacy Counsel, Legal Engineer from Immuta, and we are following up from the Housing Innovation Alliance Staycation event that happened yesterday. Dan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
It really is exciting. So Dan, just for the audience out there, give us a quick overview of your background, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm privacy counsel and legal engineer at Immuta. Privacy counsel just means that I'm really getting really smart on data regulations that affect highly regulated industries such as healthcare and finance. We work at Immuta with these organizations that are trying to share data safely for the purposes of analytics.
Really cool, really cool. So what brings somebody like yourself to the Housing Innovation Alliance Staycation event? What interests you that you wanted to be a part of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following the Housing Innovation Alliance for a while now. I think they're bringing together lots of really cool stakeholders, all the way from builders to building technology, and also lots of other like financiers. I just found that the community was really cool, and also I love that they were, uh, you know, pushing this topic of housing as a service, thinking about new ways to engage with end users using technology, data, and digital layers. And so that really resonated with my interest. As I said, I work a lot with data as a privacy counsel, but also as a legal engineer. A lot of what I do is translate legal requirements and regulatory requirements into product. And so that bridge between the law and technology is something I'm really excited about, which really applies to housing, which is a highly regulated industry.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So can you elaborate on what housing as a service is in your mind?
Absolutely. I don't think there's a formal definition for it, but essentially the idea is how do we make more things related to housing consumable by end users so that it's an ongoing relationship rather than you build a piece of housing, user goes in it, and the relationship kind of ends as a transaction. We can learn from other industries such as the transportation industry and the hospitality industry to build that relationship with the end user, whether through like a digital platform, like we discussed HomeZada, where they take inventory of lots of different assets in your house and collect data along the way and ultimately improve the way that you manage your house as an asset. It's not something that just ends after one time. It's something that continues, and with that relationship, with that data, can ultimately improve the user experience of having a home or even creating more inclusive housing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even right now, with so many people, all of us at home, I mean, what's a better time than take a look at this data and how people are living in their houses and how you can start looking at housing as a service from your standpoint, from the data that could be collected from what's happening right now. I'd imagine that's a really big interest for you.
100%. I think one key thing that we saw, for instance, is Zoom. Obviously, the video conferencing software that a lot of us are using has exploded during COVID-19. But I think there's been some interesting action of major governments and private corporations actually banning the use of Zoom after seeing pretty big privacy and security gaps that happened. For instance, the entire country of Taiwan, or the government of Taiwan, is banning Zoom. SpaceX, Google. And so even though it's presented an opportunity, there's a possibility that if you don't get this right, it could actually harm your long-term financial sustainability and growth.
No kidding. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big deal. That's really a
it's
big
a
deal.
huge deal. It's a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
deal. I think it's almost as if their own success sort of highlighted these gaps, and now sort of a backlash in terms of how things are going for them in terms of the acceptability.
Right.
Overall, they're obviously a fantastic product. They're doing super well, but I think we're starting to see a bit of more criticism and around their data strategy practices.
Right, right. Love it, love it. So overall, what was your feeling of the event? And I mean, it was an all-day event with a lot of people, a lot of really smart people. What was your
Yeah.
overall takeaway?
Oh yeah. It was a fantastic event. I hope more things like it happen. I love that they continue the event despite COVID-19 and turning into a digital experience. I would say one of the biggest takeaways that I had is that um, this exists in a lot of innovation circles. It's really easy to get entranced by new techniques, new digital technologies, new ways to use data. But if we don't start with the end user and understand what are their biggest pain points and how we can understand and build that relationship with them, we may be solving the wrong problems. And so that happens in a lot of different aspects, whether it's to understand what their what benefits we want to create for them using these new innovations, or what are they most scared of. We're seeing, for instance, and I mentioned this in the panel, people getting really scared around privacy and security issues. We mentioned the Google Home example, where people are really freaked out that there were third parties listening to really intimate conversations in the home, as well as just hearing anecdotally. For instance, my friend, he has several pets, and he used to have all these sort of pet video, like internal video cameras in his home to kind of track how his pets were doing. He realized after a while, like being at home, like, do I want to be monitored by these, by this video? He felt really uncomfortable that it was always on, and he actually decided to throw that software away, throw the technology away. And it's really interesting how, again, like, we really have to make sure that that trust is there, so that as we digitize the home, as we try to make it smarter, as we try to create a service out of it, that foundational trust is there so that people are willing to use it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's a real big deal. Even in my house, it's the same thing. We don't really want the the IP cameras everywhere, just because you don't know, because you hear these stories and it's really scary,
Yeah.
to think about in that sense. And, it's just like even with your computer, you can be talking about a product and all of a sudden you're seeing advertising for products.
Absolutely. It's
That's
only
crazy.
going to get more and more intense. Exactly. And it's like, especially as we're talking about like the home, where, we spend time with our loved ones in very intimate settings. The thought that like things could be tracked there, I think, spooks a lot of people, and just becomes more and more important. And that's why that, not only in terms of like how we use our homes, but also like how we build homes. It has so many social implications, so many implications for our daily life. That's why it is so highly regulated.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so tell me, what's some of your favorite moments of the day at Staycation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm biased. So I was part of moderating the housing as a service discussion, and also the think tank. Those are my two, those are my two favorite events. In particular, I really loved the think tank. It wasn't a format that I participated in the past, but I love that it was just sort of this freewheeling conversation where we sort of discussed various topics and questions that were posed not only by our fantastic moderator, but also the audience. I also really loved the visual note-taking that happened as we were sort of discussing the event. We can kind of, it's really great because you can kind of sometimes lose track of conversations, and it was really great to keep track of what was happening in real time.
Yeah, for sure. Ayumi was doing a great job of that, putting that up on the
Absolutely.
board in real time. Love it. So, what's one thing you could take away and implement today, tomorrow? I always say implement today, because why wait for tomorrow?
I love that. I would say the biggest thing is to start with the people you want to serve, know who they are, and to build real human relationships with them. And that came out not only in the sessions that I was a part of, but also one of the earlier sessions around marketing and things like that. We have to start with people, serve them, and build real human relationships with them.
Right. Love it. So, overall, the event was a success.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it really was. Everybody I've been talking to is the same thing. They came out with so much enthusiasm of all the different things that we talked about, because it's real world issues, just like this, listening in on private devices and everything that's happening in the technology world. So, Dan, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your time telling us about your experience at the Housing Innovation Alliance Staycation. So, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for doing this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to put it out there, and I'll tag you when it goes out. But there you have it, everybody. Dan Wu, Immuta, thank you so much, Dan. Keep collecting that data, and I look forward to seeing you in the future here.
Thanks a lot, David. Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye now.